Welcome back to the deep dive. So I think it's something we all feel, right? That sense that the digital world isn't just moving fast anymore.
No, not at all.
The pace of change itself is actually accelerating. Yesterday's speed is like half of today's speed.
Right. And what was cutting edge last year, especially in a field like web development, is already starting to feel well, a bit legacy.
Exactly. We're in this era of what feels like a perpetual technological revolution.
And that feeling, that velocity, is exactly what we're going to tackle head on today. We're doing a deep dive into this fantastic guide that's all about helping you cultivate what it calls a future-ready mindset.
A future-ready mindset. I like that.
Yeah, and it's specifically for web development in this new age of generative AI. The great thing is, it's designed for everyone. It doesn't matter what your technical background is.
Okay, so this material isn't just, another list of trends. It sounds like it's trying to synthesize these huge, really complex shifts into something actionable.
That's it. Into easy-to-digest strategies. So our core mission for this deep dive is, I think, pretty simple, but it's also really transformative.
And what's that?
It's city.
Oh,
How do we get past the fear of this technological explosion? How do we stop worrying about being replaced and instead become the kind of creator, the kind of professional who can actually learn faster than the technology evolves?
learn faster than technology evolves. Wow. That's the goal right there.
It has to be. And to answer that, we first have to, really get a handle on the scale of the change we're talking about.
Okay.
The source material lays it out really well. It talks about a fundamental evolution in what a website even is.
Right, because historically websites were basically static brochures, right?
Yep.
Digital posters.
Digital posters, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you went there to consume information that was just sitting there.
It was a one-way street, passive delivery.
Precisely. But today, they've already morphed into these sophisticated, intelligent assistants. They're responding to us in real time. They're learning from how we interact with them. They're adapting what they offer.
And that's all powered by machine learning and APIs that let the site sort of remember you.
Yes. But the future trajectory is where it gets really mind-bending. The source describes websites that are moving beyond just being responsive. They're becoming highly autonomous.
Autonomous, what does that even mean for a website?
It means the goal is self-optimization. We're getting ready for websites that can literally fix and adjust their own configurations
And on their own.
on their own, adjusting load times, even changing content placement based on real-time traffic data, sometimes without a human ever hitting a deploy button.
That is wild.
And they're becoming profoundly voice-aware. We're not just talking about a little chatbot in the corner. We're talking about integrating complex natural language understanding right into the site's core architecture.
So this is way beyond just asking Siri or Alexa a question. This is a website that understands nuanced commands inside its own world, its own domain.
Exactly. And I think this is the most crucial part. They will be context smart. This is the end game for personalization.
Context smart.
A context smart website doesn't just know your name or what you bought last time. It understands the emotional or the professional or the informational reason you are visiting right now.
Oh.
It uses external data, things like the weather, your location, the time of day, even news headlines, to infer your immediate need. And then it can actually restructure its own interface to meet that need on the fly.
Okay, that's a massive leap. So as a developer, you're not building a static frame anymore. You're building, I don't know, a living, self-modifying organism.
That's a great analogy. It completely shifts the mental model from, say, engineering a bridge to managing an ecosystem.
And that's why our mission today, like you said, isn't just to list these trends. It's to build a personal action plan for yourself, for the listener.
Right. You need the mindset to orchestrate that ecosystem, to make sure you're riding this wave of intelligence, not getting swept under by it.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's really dive into this new digital frontier. We should probably start with the 5 major trends that are reshaping the internet, beginning with the one that I think gives traditional developers the most existential angst.
The big one.
Yeah, how AI is changing the very act of writing code.
Right. So this is trend 1, AI code generation. And we need to be clear, we are light years past the simple autocomplete you get in your editor.
Oh, yeah.
We are talking about large language models that are deeply integrated into your tools. They can generate entire software components from a sentence. They can translate code between languages. And this is a huge one. They can instantly explain a 20-year-old legacy code base that no one on the team understands anymore.
Okay, let's pause there because the immediate gut reaction for a lot of people hearing that is fear. It's fear of becoming obsolete. If the AI is handling the mechanics, the syntax, the boilerplate code, all the debugging headaches, what's the higher value work that's left for the human developer?
It's a huge implication, but the source frames it as a promotion. The developer is liberated from all that tedious, repetitive work.
Liberated, not replaced.
Exactly. They are now promoted, almost by necessity, to the role of systems architect and quality controller. Their focus shifts almost entirely to creativity.
Creativity in what sense?
In designing the entire system architecture, defining the complex business logic, orchestrating how data flows through the entire application, they're thinking at a much higher level.
But with a promotion like that comes new responsibilities and
Yeah.
new risks, I'd imagine. What are the specific things this new AI systems architect has to manage that the old school coder didn't really have to worry about?
The source points to three critical things. First, something called hallucination control.
Hallucination control.
Yeah, AI can confidently spit out code that looks perfect, but it might contain really subtle logical flaws or, worse, security vulnerabilities. The human's job is to audit the critical pathways. You can't just blindly trust it.
You're the final sign-off, the sanity check.
You have to be. Second is cost optimization. If you're relying heavily on third-party AI APIs to generate code all day, you can rack up some serious cloud computing bills.
I've heard stories about that.
So the architect has to design prompts and workflows that are efficient, not just effective. And third, integration integrity. If AI is writing half your services, the architect has to ensure they all talk to each other seamlessly and the data stays consistent.
So AI doesn't get rid of the coder.
Yeah.
It raises the bar for what competence looks like. It turns a technical worker into a strategic planner.
Precisely. Now, let's shift gears a bit to trend two, voice and chat interfaces. We've all used voice assistants, but the future here is integrating these capabilities natively into websites,
So interaction moves off the screen and into just talking.
into the natural conversational domain. And this has profound implications for user experience, or UX, design. We're moving away from mouse and keyboard logic toward what's called VUI.
Voice user interface design.
Exactly. And the developer now needs to master new concepts like intent mapping. That's figuring out what a user really wants, even if their language is kind of vague.
Or if they ask a follow-up question.
Yes, sophisticated state management. If a user asks 3 follow-up questions about a product, the application have to remember the context of the whole conversation. That is technically very demanding. Natural language is replacing the old click and search interface.
And speaking of new interfaces, that brings us to trend 3, augmented reality, or AR, on the web. And just to be clear, we're not talking about needing some expensive VR headset here.
No, not at all. This is about bringing interactive visuals layered onto the real world using the phone in your pocket or, future lightweight smart glasses.
The relevance for this seems huge in certain sectors.
It's vast, especially as the standards for it, WebXR, get better. I mean, think about industrial training. You could have complex machinery diagnostics overlaid right onto the physical equipment in real time.
Or in real estate. A buyer could walk through a house and digitally see what it would look like if they knocked down a wall.
Instantly. But the technical challenge here isn't just making the 3D model. It's performance. You have to deliver these incredibly detailed 3D assets over a normal internet connection and have them render perfectly on all kinds of different phones without any lag.
That sounds like a nightmare. It's way beyond just optimizing a JPEG image.
It's a whole different level. You need to master a performance optimization, compression algorithm, efficient asset streaming. If the latency is too high, the whole illusion of AR just breaks. It feels clunky.
Okay, let's talk about trend 4. Hyper-personalization. We've had personalized ads for years. What makes this new version hyper?
It's the depth and the speed. We're talking about the entire layout of a site, the features that are available, the tone of voice in the text, even the calls to action, all of it adjusting dynamically.
Based on what?
Based on your real-time behavior, your location, even data points from outside the application, like your recent search history.
So the goal is one size fits one. Every single visitor gets a completely unique experience tailored just for them. What's the tech that drives that?
It requires some powerful infrastructure. You need real-time data ingestion pipelines, streaming data directly into machine learning models. You need edge computing to make decisions super fast.
So the decision-making happens closer to the user, not on some distant server.
Exactly. The model has to decide in milliseconds which version of the web page to serve you based on what it thinks your intent is. This is a big shift from traditional systems.
And it sounds like a development workflow that is just constantly moving, requiring really advanced CI/CD pipelines to keep up.
It absolutely is. And that brings us to the final critical trend that underpins all of this. Trend 5, ethical design.
Why is this a technological trend and not just, a policy issue?
Because if these intelligent systems are making decisions about what you see or what price you pay, or even if you qualify for a loan, the technical mechanism itself has to be auditable. It has to be transparent and correctable.
Ah, so ethics has to be baked into the code.
It has to be a core constraint in the system architecture from day one. You can't just tack it on at the end, because if the underlying logic is biased or a total black box, users and increasingly regulators will just reject the whole thing.
And then all that amazing technology is worthless.
Totally moot.
Hmm.
So if we zoom out and connect the dots here, these 5 trends, AI, cogen, voice, AR, hyper-personalization, and ethics, they're fundamentally changing the nature of what we build online.
They're demanding a much higher level of strategic and, well, human input. Because we're not just building tools anymore.
Building partners.
Okay, so that's the big question then for the next decade. If AI is handling so much of the repetitive coding and the debugging, what is actually left for the human developer or strategist?
Right. And the source identifies 5 core human skills. These are the skills that machines, even the most advanced ones we can imagine, simply cannot replicate. These are your non-negotiable foundations for a career.
Let's define the human contribution then. Starting with skill 1, creativity. We hear that word a lot, but what's the actual practical distinction between human and machine creativity?
The distinction is really about originality and purpose. A machine can be phenomenal at what we'd call generative recombination,
Meaning,
meaning it can take all the data it was trained on and create novel combinations. It can write a complex poem in the style of Shakespeare or generate 1,000 different logo designs based on a prompt.
it's like being an incredibly good remix artist.
That's a perfect analogy. But it can't be the visionary who invented the genre in the first place.
It can't define the revolutionary new concept that breaks the existing mold.
Exactly. True creativity is about asking that what-if question that the data models haven't even encountered yet. It's about challenging the frame, not just painting within it. True innovation, the source reminds us, is a human domain.
And that originality feels very connected to the next skill, which is skill 2, empathy. Now, AI can analyze emotional sentiment in text, so can it truly not replicate empathy? And why is empathy so essential for good design?
Well, AI can simulate empathy. It can use sophisticated tone analysis and generate a response that sounds empathetic. But it can't intrinsically experience or understand the nuanced context of human pain or frustration or joy.
It doesn't have lived experience.
It doesn't. Empathy requires understanding real-world context and emotional drivers. And good design, the kind of design that makes you love a product, is all about translating data points, millions of clicks and scrolls, into humane choices.
I've always thought of it this way. AI can tell you what your users are doing. Empathy is what tells you why they're doing it, and more importantly, how they feel while they're doing it.
That is spot on. And that emotional understanding is what informs the truly ethical and intuitive design decisions. Which leads us right into skill 3, critical thinking.
Okay.
Think about it. An AI tool, like a copilot, generates a solution for you, and it's 95% correct. The temptation, especially when you're under a deadline, is to just blindly trust it.
Of course. Just accept it and move on. But you're saying the human role now shifts from creator to skeptic.
Precisely. Critical thinking in this new world means rigorously questioning the AI's output. Does this code it wrote introduce a weird, unnecessary dependency? Is this architecture it suggested way too complex for our needs?
Is the data analysis it gave me based on a biased sample of data?
Yes. You need people who can scrutinize the recommendations, who can judge the efficiency of the machine's output, and who have the intuition to detect those subtle flaws or hallucinations.
So we're moving from developers who need to be fast typists to developers who need to be expert auditors.
That's the reality. If you fail to apply critical thinking, you just end up automating your errors and scaling them faster than ever before.
A terrifying thought.
It is. Now, for the more organizational skill, skill 4, collaboration. And this isn't just about collaborating with other people anymore.
It's about that human-AI hybrid team.
Right. It's mastering that dynamic. This sounds less like coding and more like workflow management.
It is workflow management. It's the ability to integrate AI output seamlessly into a project. It's knowing which tasks are best left to the machine-like, repetitive stuff, data retrieval, and which absolutely require human validation.
So high-stakes decisions, creative direction.
Exactly. It also requires the human to become an expert at writing really high-quality prompts and then interpreting the outputs. That's a whole new layer of communication we have to master.
And finally, the ultimate arbiter of human value, skill 5, ethical judgment. This is the highest level of human decision-making.
This is knowing the limits, knowing when not to automate something.
Yes. This is so critical in sensitive areas. For example, in a medical setting, an AI might offer the fastest diagnosis based on data. But a human doctor has to retain that final decision-making authority. They have to be the one to communicate it with compassion.
Or in a financial system, an AI might flag a transaction as fraud, but you need a human to step in and ensure due process before just, shutting down someone's account.
Right. It means understanding the potential for harm and placing accountability firmly in the human domain, even when the machine is providing all the efficiency.
What's so fascinating here, and the source really drives this home, is that the future doesn't belong to the people who can code the fastest. It belongs
To creative humans using AI wisely.
that one sentence should really guide your whole professional development plan. And it raises a really important question for you, for the listener. Which of these 5 skills, creativity, empathy, critical thinking, collaboration, or ethical judgment, are you actively prioritizing in your own learning right now?
Okay, so we've established the indispensable human skills. Now we need to get into the how. How do we actually cultivate these skills? And more importantly, how do we use AI not as a competitor, but as our own lifelong, hyper-personalized teacher?
This is a huge mindset shift. The source talks about this as continuous learning with AI, and it really changes the game. I mean, the days of spending weeks just slogging through documentation for a new framework, those are ending.
They're over.
Mm.
AI allows for immediate synthesis and curriculum design. Think about the efficiency gain there. Before, if you wanted to research a new framework, you were looking at 2 days of reading tutorials, comparing blog posts.
Trying to figure out who to trust.
Right. Now, AI can summarize all of that complex information or even structure an entire educational path for you in minutes. It just removes all the friction from the start of the learning process.
The source has some great specific examples of prompts you can use to make the AI act like your personal tutor.
Yeah, this is so practical. So instead of just a generic web search, you get surgically relevant information. For instance, if you're feeling overwhelmed by the JavaScript landscape, you don't have to browse 10 different top frameworks of 2025 articles.
You can just ask the AI.
Exactly. Use a prompt like, summarize the latest web development frameworks, including their performance trade-offs and their ideal use cases. Boom. That one prompt cuts out 2 days of research and gives you an immediate comparative analysis.
And then you can build on that. You can turn that analysis directly into an action plan with a follow-up prompt.
Right. You could say, okay, based on that, create a detailed weekly learning plan on responsive design principles using modern CSS Grid and Flexbox. The AI literally becomes your curriculum designer, and it can tailor it to your specific knowledge level.
And what if you prefer learning from videos or courses?
You can ask it to be a curator. Recommend 5 highly rated YouTube channels or online courses to master the fundamental concepts of React hooks and state management. It's this immediate targeted resource curation that is just revolutionary for self-learners.
The key takeaway here, what the source calls the coach's tip, is really powerful. It says, replace fear with curiosity.
Yes, make it a daily habit. Ask AI something new, something that challenges you every single day. That consistent curiosity is the engine that drives rapid adaptability.
So that's personal learning. But how does this scale up to a team? The source talks about collaborating with AI teams. The future of an organization is this hybrid model.
It's totally hybrid. You'll have designers, developers, strategists, all working alongside dedicated AI agents. And this changes the entire division of labor.
Okay, break that down. What does that symbiotic relationship look like in practice? Let's start with the designer.
Okay, the designer's focus stays squarely on the human elements, emotions, high-level layout, user empathy. But they're partnered with an AI for style generation and for creating rapid, iterative mock-ups.
So the designer sets the big picture constraints, like here's the mood board, the color psychology, the brand identity.
And the AI instantly generates hundreds of viable variations on typefaces or spacing or component aesthetics. This allows the human designer to quickly test and select the most effective solution rather than spending hours just, moving pixels around in Figma.
I can see how that would speed things up. What about the developer?
The developer focuses on the overall system logic, the architectural integrity, the data flow. Their partner, AI, is focused on things like code completion, scaffolding new projects, and even managing technical debt.
So the developer might define the core logic for, say, a payment function.
And the AI writes all the boilerplate code, handles the dependency injection, and makes sure the code conforms to all the latest security standards. It's a massive efficiency boost that minimizes human error in all those repetitive functions.
And that frees up the developer's time for the really complex problem solving.
Exactly. And then you have the strategist. Their job is to focus on business goals, market narratives, storytelling. They are partnered with an AI for deep data analysis, for optimizing A/B tests, for predictive modeling.
So the strategist asks the big question, what's the best way to convert this user segment?
And the AI can instantly run simulations, process huge amounts of market data, and predict the likely outcomes of different messaging strategies.
Hmm.
The human sets the high-level goals. The AI validates the technical path to get there,
The mantra here is so essential. The goal is not to compete with AI.
but to collaborate with it. And this necessity for collaboration leads to what might be the most important mindset shift of all,
Which is
the necessity of unlearning.
unlearning. That seems counterintuitive.
It does, but think about it. If the industry is evolving on a monthly basis, then deep mastery of one specific temporary tool is actually a liability.
Because if you spent 3 years mastering a build tool that is now obsolete, that investment can feel wasted, and that makes you resistant to learning the next new thing.
It creates a huge psychological hurdle, and the way you overcome that fragility is by adopting what the source calls the unlearning mantra. I don't memorize tools, I understand principles.
Okay, so what are these enduring principles that we need to be focusing on instead of specific frameworks?
Think about the foundational concepts that have been around for decades. Things like separation of concerns, dividing your application into distinct, manageable parts. That's been crucial forever, whether you're using vanilla JavaScript or the latest Meta framework.
Or concepts like immutability.
Right, ensuring data objects can't be changed after they're created. That's essential for reliable state management in any language. Modularity, the DRY principle, don't repeat yourself, understanding basic functional programming concepts. These are architectural truths.
And those will still be relevant 20 years from now, no matter what language you're using.
Exactly. The specific tool you use for state management might change every 6 months. You might go from Redux to Zustand to something else. But the concept of managing application state reliably is the high-value skill. Unlearning isn't about forgetting. It's about shifting your energy away from temporary details and back toward those enduring foundations.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, the sheer power of all this automation, it really requires us to be responsible architects, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The source provides a really vital framework for this. It's about addressing the critical issues that come up when we start automating human interaction and decision-making. We have to be critical about the ethical direction we're choosing.
This moves the conversation from what can we do to what should we do. Let's get into the 3 pillars of ethical automation that the source outlines, starting with data privacy.
The primary risk here is pretty clear. It's the systemic tracking of users without their informed consent, or using their data in ways they never agreed to, which violates their trust.
The necessary response, then, has to be baked into the tech. It requires using transparent policies and giving users genuine control.
And that's way more than just that annoying accept all cookies banner we all click away. It means developers have to actually engineer systems that practice data minimization.
Only collecting what is strictly necessary for the service to function.
Exactly. And implementing mechanisms for data sovereignty, giving users real power over their own information. These are technical solutions that have to support policy requirements from things like GDPR.
Okay, the second pillar is AI bias. This is when algorithms, which are trained on historical data, end up recommending unequal or unfair outcomes.
And it's important to note, this usually isn't intentional malice from the developers. It's a reflection of historical human biases that were already present in the training data. The machine just learns what it's shown.
This feels like a huge technical challenge. How does a developer practically address something as nebulous as fairness inside a complex machine learning model?
The necessary technical response is to audit and correct the datasets rigorously. This involves using what are called explainability tools tech that tries to make the AI's thought process more visible.
So you can see why it made a certain decision.
Hopefully. And you use fairness metrics to measure if the model is having a different impact on different demographic groups. It requires intentional data cleaning and augmentation to try and mitigate those imbalances. It's a continuous, human-driven process of oversight. It's never done.
And the third pillar, the one that generates so much public discussion, is job impact, the replacement of predictable, lower skill roles with highly efficient automation.
This is an inevitable consequence when you're maximizing for efficiency. The ethical response, as the source defines it, is not to try and halt innovation. That's impossible. Instead, the focus has to be on reskilling and mentoring affected peers.
So businesses and technologists have a responsibility here.
A huge one. To create transition pathways to train individuals so they can take on those higher-level creative and strategic roles that we know AI can't touch.
So the overall message isn't about restriction, it's about intentional leadership. Ethics is what gives all this powerful technology a direction.
It provides the direction, and that direction is always towards adaptation and continuous learning. To really illustrate this mindset, the source shares this powerful little story. It's the mini story of the adaptive student.
This is about Adil, a 14-year-old developer. I love this. He didn't just passively consume tech, he used his curiosity to build an AI-powered quiz site, which is already a great project, but the real learning moment came after he built it.
Yes, the true demonstration of this future-ready mindset was in his next prompt to the AI. Instead of just being happy with his accomplishment, he immediately asked ChatGPT, how can I improve this idea next year? What is the next evolution of this project?
That is the ultimate use case for AI, isn't it? Using it to expand your own strategic horizon to see what's next.
It's exactly that. And the AI came back with suggestions like integrating voice questions and adding local language support. This challenge immediately pushed the deal to learn a completely new, complex technical skill, Urdu speech recognition APIs.
So he didn't just learn a little programming trick, he acquired a whole new skill set, and it was driven entirely by the AI's strategic suggestion.
The lesson there is just crystal clear, and it really deserves repeating. Curiosity is the best curriculum. Success in this new era isn't about the size of your current skill stack. It's about the intensity of your intellectual hunger.
And your willingness to use AI as a strategic co-pilot for your own self-improvement.
We've established the direction and the mindset. Now let's get really practical and translate this into concrete professional pathways. Because the AI era isn't eliminating careers, it's restructuring them. It's creating these fascinating, high-value new roles.
Right, roles that blend human strategy with AI execution. Let's detail these career opportunities in the AI era, starting with the evolution of the traditional coder into what the source calls the AI web developer.
This role is all about orchestration. The AI web developer is building smart websites using specialized AI APIs. They're integrating services from OpenAI, Google, and others directly into the front end and back end.
They're the intelligence layer engineers.
That's a great term for it. They're experts in prompt management, model integration, and making sure that all those complex, hyper-personalized interactions we talked about actually perform reliably and can scale up efficiently.
Okay, next up is the UX strategist, but specifically one who designs AI-driven user journeys. This sounds like a critical departure from traditional UX.
It's a huge departure. Traditional UX designs for a fixed path, a flowchart. AI-driven UX has to design for adaptability. This strategist has to design the decision trees the AI will navigate based on real-time user input.
So they're designing for scenarios that haven't even happened yet.
Exactly. Their focus is heavily on ethical user flow, making sure that the personalization never crosses that creepy line into feeling intrusive or manipulative. They're literally designing the rules for the self-optimizing website.
This leads us to what is probably the newest and maybe one of the highest value skill sets out there right now, the prompt engineer. This has moved way beyond just a hobby.
Oh, absolutely. The prompt engineer is the essential translator between human intent and machine execution. They craft these highly effective, complex instructions for AI systems to maximize the reliability and the relevance of the output.
And it's not just about typing a clear sentence, is it?
No, not at all. It's about mastering advanced techniques like few-shot learning, where you give the model a few perfect examples to guide its output. It's managing system prompts, which are like hidden rules for the AI. It's understanding how to structure inputs to pull data correctly from vector databases.
The prompt engineer is the one who ensures a business requirement gets translated into reliable machine output. That's a high-stakes, high-leverage skill. It directly impacts product quality and, critically, your API costs.
Then we have the AI educator or coach. With change happening this fast, there is a constant massive demand for people who can just teach AI literacy.
They're the facilitators of transformation within companies.
Right. Their job is to help entire organizations or individuals transition from the old ways of working to this new collaborative model. And they ensure the ethical and effective deployment of these tools across all the different teams.
And finally, the digital entrepreneur. This one feels really exciting.
It is, because AI code generation and low-cost cloud services
Mm.
have just dramatically lowered the barrier to entry for building a sophisticated functional product.
So what used to require a huge seed round of funding and a team of 20 engineers.
Can now potentially be scaffolded and launched by one determined person using AI tools to handle 90% of the boilerplate code. The entrepreneur's focus shifts entirely to the innovative concept, to market insight, and to strategic storytelling.
The source has a great actionable tip here. It says to remember that every successful career path begins with just one project that you share confidently online.
Don't wait for the formal job title. Create the project that will define your future role.
And to help cement that trajectory, let's run through the Future Ready Mindset Checklist. The source says these 5 actions are basically non-negotiable for continuous growth.
Okay, action 1. Experiment weekly with a new AI tool. Don't just read about it. Dive in. Sign up for a new service, whether it's a code tool, a graphic synthesizer, whatever. See what it breaks and see what it accelerates. This builds practical fluency.
Action 2. Follow dedicated AI research channels or newsletters. And this isn't just about reading headlines, it's about monitoring the academic and industry curve. Knowing what DeepMind or OpenAI just released gives you strategic clues about where your tools are headed 6 months from now.
Action 3. Collaborate robustly in online communities. This is where you crowdsource solutions. It's where you exchange effective prompts and learn which tools are genuinely battle-tested in the real world. The community has replaced the single guru.
Action 4. Keep a portfolio of AI projects. This isn't just a resume builder. It's tangible proof of your ability to adapt. Every future employer is going to want to see that you can collaborate effectively with intelligent systems. You have to show, not just tell.
And the final action, which is maybe the most powerful humanizing step, teach someone else every month. Teaching forces you to articulate the core principles, which solidifies your own understanding. And it fulfills that ethical mandate to mentor others. You become part of the solution.
This checklist is like a compounding interest plan for your professional growth. Now, we've given you the tools, the mindset, but the source gives you one final piece of homework. It calls it the listener's practice zone. This is how you start building your action plan today.
Yeah, make this concrete. Task 1, set your vision. This is a 5-year goal statement. You have to fill in the blank. In 5 years, I want to use AI to, and don't just say, save time. Be specific.
Like, automate 80% of my routine deployment tasks to free up time for strategic architecture design.
Exactly. Specificity is key. Then, task 2, update your skills. List 3 specific, actionable topics to learn this year. Not just AI. Maybe it's mastering few-shot prompting, or integrating a specific computer vision API, or designing conversational flows with intent mapping.
Specificity drives results.
And finally, task 3, commit to sharing. Write a short post, record a short video, whatever it is, teaching one thing you learned recently. This closes the loop. It moves you from being a passive recipient of information to an active contributor in this new knowledge economy.
As we wrap up this really extensive deep dive, let's just briefly reiterate the core lessons we've pulled from the source material. First, the AI era is fundamentally this profound merger of pure human creativity and incredible technological capability.
Second, continuous learning is the ultimate survival skill. And that means shifting your focus relentlessly onto those high-level architectural principles that last, rather than the temporary tools that expire.
And finally, the key to unlocking all of this power is recognizing this is not a competition. The future belongs to collaboration, where humans and intelligent systems work together to maximize efficiency while we retain that essential human oversight.
The source leaves us with a really necessary summary. It says AI isn't some far-off future. It is the present reality. And the generation that chooses to remain curious and ethical and kind will always be the generation that stays ahead.
You are now equipped to be part of that generation that's going to reshape how the world builds and learns.
Absolutely.
So we've discussed these essential human values: empathy, creativity, critical thinking, that AI just can't replace. Before you sign off and start building your action plan, we want to leave you with one final question to reflect on, something that builds on this whole framework of responsibility we've discussed. When technology offers the ultimate convenience and speed, what is the fundamental human value that you will never sacrifice in your own work? Keep experimenting. Keep creating.